立法會主席
The President. Good morning, members. Questions. Question 1. Ms. Judy Chen. Thank you, Chair. The Chief Executive proposed in the 2022 policy address the development of a round-the-island trail, or the Island Trail on Hong Kong Island, to connect a number of promenades and countryside walking trails between the northern part of Hong Kong Island and the southern district. To date, 85% of the Island Trail has been connected. Regarding further improvements to its connectivity and accessibility, will the government inform this council? 1. As it's learned that a number of waterfront sites in the central and western district have not been designated as land for the waterfront promenade due to operational needs or private ownership, whether the government has studied extending the waterfront promenade to these sites, if so, of the details, if not, the reasons for that, and whether it will conduct such studies. 2. As there are views pointing out that the road section outside New Praia in Kennedy Town lacks a footpath for public use, and the entrance to Belcher Bay Promenade is separated by a bus terminus and obstructed by old trees, whether the government will construct a boardwalk along the waterfront of the Praia to connect the waterfront spaces on both sides so as to enhance the accessibility of the Island Trail, if so, of the details and timetable, if not, the reasons for that, and 3. Of the works progress of the uncompleted road sections of the waterfront promenade in the southern part of Hong Kong Island and the respective construction timetables. Secretary for Development. President, the Round the Island Trail spans approximately 60 kilometers, connecting the harbourfront promenades on the northern shore of Hong Kong Island and a number of existing promenades and countryside walking trails in the southern district. The project commenced in phases since 2023 to expedite the connection of missing links of the trail and improve some of the existing sections. At present, 85% of the trail has been connected, with the target of connecting 90% of the trail within next year and completing the remaining works by the end of 2031. The reply to the various parts of the question is as follows. 1. Following the opening of the eastern section of the East Coast Boardwalk last month, the approximately 13-kilometer-long harbourfront from Kennedy Town to Shau Kei Wan has now been connected. Regarding the waterfront sites in the central and western district mentioned in the question, most of the developable waterfront areas have been opened and converted into promenades. While certain waterfront sites are not developed as promenades due to reasons such as operational needs or private ownership, pedestrian links are provided in the vicinity of the sites which connect to the adjacent waterfront areas. These sites in the central and western district are as follows. The first section concerns Shun Tak Center. The lot is privately owned and primarily used for vehicular access at grade. Pedestrian links are available in the vicinity which connect to other waterfront areas. However, these paths are rather circuitous, involving several pedestrian walkways surrounding the Shun Tak Center and crossing roads, or taking a nearby footbridge and through the center's shopping mall. The government will continue to liaise with the landowner to explore options for enhancing the at-grade pedestrian access at this location. As for the Western District Public Cargo Working Area, part of the waterfront areas within the cargo working area was previously released and converted to the Belcher Bay Promenade, which has been popular among the public. It's necessary to continue using the remaining areas for loading, discharging, and handling sea cargoes, serving the districts of Hong Kong Island West and outlying islands. The working area accounts for about 10% of the total cargo handling volume of all public cargo working areas in Hong Kong. At the rear of this cargo working area on Shing Sai Road and Fung Mat Road, pedestrian walkways are available connecting the promenade on both ends of the working area. To enhance accessibility and visitor experience, the Development Bureau is carrying out beautification works on this road section, including enhancing outdoor installations and wayfinding signage, which will be completed in the first quarter of this year. The third section concerns China Merchants Wharf. The lot is privately owned as well. There is a pedestrian walkway on Saining Street behind the lot which connects the promenade on both sides of the lot. Although currently the lot is primarily used as warehouse and pier, it has been rezoned under the relevant outline zoning plan for integrated development of commercial, leisure, and tourism-related uses. The concerned owner shall provide promenade along the waterfront for public use when undertaking redevelopment. The government will then discuss feasible options with the owner with a view to providing more harborfront spaces. Part 2 of the question. To provide a safe and relaxing experience for visitors to enjoy sunset view at New Praia in Kennedy Town, we will consider using the streamlined mechanism under the Protection of the Harbour Ordinance amended last year to carry out harbour enhancement works involving small-scale reclamations and explore the feasibility of constructing a boardwalk along the waterfront areas or other technical solutions to provide pedestrian walkways. We target to put forth specific proposals for consultation in Q2 this year. As regards the entrance to the Belcher Bay Promenade, as mentioned by the member, while it is adjacent to a bus terminus and some large trees, the road space meets the accessibility requirements and does not affect the overall connectivity. We will keep in view its usage and explore feasibility to undergo enhancement with relevant departments from time to time. Part 3 of the question. Projects which the government completed last year in the Southern District to connect the trail include the footbridge connecting the Cyberport Road and Waterfall Bay Park and the new walking trail between South Bay Beach and Chong Ho-fung Road. The walking trail construction between Tai Tam Road near Pacific View and Lo Fushan Catchwater, as well as the beautification works at Hairpin Beach Open Space, will be completed in the second and third quarter this year, respectively. Also, construction of 2 walking trail sections will commence this year, connecting Cape D'Aguila Road to Shego Beach and Victoria Road to Sandy Bay Rocky Shore, respectively. They will be completed by the end of this year. After connecting 90% of the island trail by next year, the remaining 10% with a length of about 6 kilometers mainly include sections such as Shao Kei Wan to Hang Fa Chun and the following sections in the Southern District: Brick Hill to Mills and Chung Path, Hung Yip Path to Shenwan Pier Drive, Waterfall Bay Park to Callet Bay Promenade. These sections involve more technical considerations and complex works, such as slope improvement. We strive to largely complete them by the end of 2031. Regarding the road section along Big Wave Bay Road, where road space is very narrow, given the cost-effectiveness and the impact on nearby residences, it is considered not suitable to construct a walking trail there. We are considering alternative proposals such as rerouting the trail via Dragon's Back, which has been recognized as Asia's best urban hiking trail. Be it the island trail or the harbor enhancement works, we adopt the approach of tackling the simple issues first before the difficult ones, as well as the incremental approach. This approach has proven practical, and the Development Bureau will continue to leverage our resources to implement the relevant projects. Thank you. Ms. Judy Chen, I thank the Secretary for her reply. Many citizens saw the opening of the East Coast Boardwalk, and this shows to the public that the government can cope with all the challenges in order for the public to enjoy the harborfront area. Now turning to the Western District Public Cargo Working Area, you said that there is a section, but that section is away from the harborfront area and it is adjacent to a crossing road. Can we think of ways to connect that part with the island trail so that the public can enjoy the beautiful harborfront area? Secretary, as mentioned in the reply, this public cargo working area is still serving its functions. However, our planning is dynamic, sometimes there might be opportunities in front of us if we can make use of that working area and connect it to the waterfront promenade, we would do so. However, such opportunity is not present yet. We're working on the area that is behind the cargo working area so that when pedestrians pass by, they can have a good experience. For example, we want to show them murals as well as road sections or road surfaces with characteristics. These are all minor works. We hope to complete these minor works by Q1 this year. We will also see whether there are chances for us to modify the public cargo working area there. Next, Mr. Chang Hok-fung. Thank you, President. We've been telling the Development Bureau to open up the promenade, and it has been adopting the incremental approach. It's been a decade or so, and we see that the northern part of Hong Kong Island has pretty much been opened up, and many people from the Kowloon district is jealous that we have this beautiful harbourfront promenade. The promenade in Sai Ying Pun has recently been opened up, and a lot of parents are bringing their children to that park. In order to enhance the promenade, we need software. We also need catering facilities. The promenade is very long, but there aren't enough catering facilities, and so members of the public can't really stay there for a long time to enjoy the harbourfront spaces. Will the Secretary think about whether it is possible to introduce more catering facilities there so that members of the public can enjoy the harbourfront space and enjoy food there at the same time? Secretary, I'm glad that members recognize our incremental approach, and we are indeed at the stage where we're trying to enhance the promenades. So at certain locations along the promenades, we are trying to introduce more catering facilities, including Wan Chai, Central, North Point, as well as Tsim Sha Tsui. In Wan Chai, last year we introduced 2 stalls that sell light snacks. Moving forward, we will work with an enterprise of the West Kowloon Cultural District. We hope that in Central, North Point, and Tsim Sha Tsui, we will be able to introduce more stalls that sell light refreshment. So this is our plan for now. Also, some members may have noticed that we are launching a tendering exercise again for the Central Harbourfront event space, and that's for a short-term tenancy. And there is one part of this event space that's close to the harbourfront promenade. We hope that the tenant in future will be able to provide permanent or long-term F&B facilities, whether or not there are events there. We hope that visitors, when passing by the harbourfront promenade there, can make use of the catering facilities. We have already raised our request in the tendering documents. Also, we will explore introducing catering facilities along the East Coast Boardwalk. We believe that some of these facilities will start operating soon. Next, Mr. Stephen Ho. I welcome the work of the Development Bureau on the harbourfront promenades. Just now, Mr. Chang Hok-fung asked about catering facilities. I think the government has to be bolder. Just adding a few light refreshment stalls will not help revive the economy. There are some important landmarks along the harbourfront promenades that include the Western food wholesale market. It's not that we have to turn it into a new tourist attraction or make it lose its original function, but we can consider selling products from our country, for example, so that members of the public who visit the Harbourfront Promenade can get food products there. Secretary, if I understand the question correctly, the member is asking how we can make good use of the Western wholesale food market or introducing a new function to this food market. We are not considering this at the moment, but we will look into this. This is a rather creative idea. And as mentioned by the member, this will involve other policy bureaus. We will have an internal discussion to follow up on this. Ms. Elaine Chik. Thank you, President. The DAB has been calling for a more continuous island trail on the Hong Kong island. With the opening up of the East Coast Boardwalk, we are seeing a more continuous promenade thanks to the CEDD as well as the Development Bureau. Just now, the Secretary mentioned about Shao Kei Wan to Hang Fa Chun, which have not been connected yet with the island trail. And this involves LEUNG Park. And if we can connect this part to the island trail, we can help boost our economy. Are there plans for the government to connect this area with the island trail also? Will there be a footpath near the island eastern corridor that connects Shao Kei Wan and Han Fa Chun with the island trail? And how can there be an organic integration with the LEUNG Park and the island trail? Secretary, the sections involving Shao Kei Wan to Hang Fa Chun involve more technical considerations because there are many slopes there. Our initial proposal is to develop the inland area which is close to the Eastern Island Corridor. The CEDD is currently conducting technical assessment and studies on this. Regardless of our final proposal, we want to stick to our timetable. That is, we want to open up this remaining section by the end of 2031. As for the technical details, I think we have to rely on our technical departments to complete the studies first. Mr. Kenneth Fogg. My question is similar to that asked by Mr. Chong Ho-fung. However, I want to ask from a broader perspective. It's great to have the harbourfront promenades opened up. The Nansha government is currently working on the harbourfront promenade as well. The issue they are sorting out now is whether the operators see it as an investment opportunity. I understand that the SAR government is sticking to the incremental approach. I want to know how much money has the government put in to the harbourfront promenades, and for this island trail that spans 60 kilometers, has it fulfilled our expectations in terms of the economic benefits that it can bring to us? How can we better make use of the island trail? For example, can we have more retail facilities there? Secretary, well, I have to be honest with you. We haven't conducted a studies on the cost effectiveness of the island trail yet, as we are considering how many catering facilities we should introduce to the harbourfront promenades. We focus on one thing at a time, so we haven't yet conducted a studies on this complicated matter. However, as we introduce more catering facilities, I believe we'll be able to come up with a more comprehensive arrangement, as suggested by Mr. Kenneth Fogg. We haven't carried out studies for the entire island trail, but take Kowloon as an example. The URA is carrying out studies on how to link up To Kwa Wan promenades with the inland areas. We have also carried out studies on the cost effectiveness of the works. We have also conducted studies on the promenades at East Kowloon. These are rather new studies, so we will cover more areas in these studies. So apart from studying the connectivity of the promenades there, we will also study the feasibility of introducing more facilities there. Next, Mr. Vincent Chang. Members of the public have commended the opening up of the Island Trail, including the East Coast Boardwalk. If we're able to complete the Island Trail, it will benefit the promenade in Kowloon as well, because they're on the both sides of the Victoria Harbour. Can we speed up, however, enhancing the connectivity of the Island Trail? For example, in Kowloon, can we have a more continuous harbourfront promenade that can link up West Kowloon Cultural District as well as the other cultural infrastructure? Can we also complete the promenade along West Kowloon Cultural District so that we can have a improved promenade? Secretary, our goal is that by 2028, on both sides of the Victoria Harbour, 34 kilometers of the harbourfront promenades will be connected, of which 16 kilometers are located at the core of Kowloon, excluding Tsuen Wan and Tsing Yi. If we only look at the core of Kowloon, among the 34 kilometers of the promenade, 16 kilometers are at the center of Kowloon, and of the 16 kilometers, 14 kilometers have been connected. That means in the coming 2 years, the major parts that we have to work on is the remaining 2 kilometers at the center of Kowloon. These 2 kilometers are located in the new development area in East Kowloon and Kai Tak. Also, the former shipyard in Hong Kong, we are launching a tendering exercise, which is a short-term tenancy agreement, and if we can finish that tendering exercise, we'll be able to link up Hong Kong with the rest of the promenade as well. So we will focus on the coastal area along the central part of Kowloon. However, there are still parts that cannot be linked up yet, that include To Kwa Wan as well as Kai Tak, because they involve private ownership problems. As mentioned, we are carrying studies on this. We will study what proposals we can come up with. We will decide whether it is necessary for us to make use of the protection of the harbour ordinance that was amended last year. Thank you.
Question 2, Mr. Chong Ho-fung. Thank you, President. It has been reported that a university student was suspected to use artificial intelligence, that is AI, to create indecent images of his classmates and friends without their consent, sparking public concern. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, PCPD, then stated that it could not further follow up on the matter as no victims were willing to provide information. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1. Whether there is currently legislation in Hong Kong prohibiting the use of AI to create indecent images of individuals without their consent? If so, of the details. If not, whether it will consider enacting such legislation. 2. Given concerns that the public lacks awareness of the legal liabilities involved in creating AI-generated indecent images, whether the government will step up publicity to enhance public awareness of the consequences of such illegal acts and ensure victims understand their rights and available channels for assistance. And 3, as there are views pointing out that the university concerned reportedly failed to report the incident to the police immediately upon learning about it, leading to public doubt over its handling procedures, whether the government has issued guidelines to universities on handling suspected illegal acts by students or mandated immediate reporting to the police, if so, of the details, if not, whether it will consider formulating such guidelines. Thank you, President. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry. Thank you, President. Regarding the question raised by Mr. Chong Ho-fung, upon consulting the relevant bureaus, our reply is as follows. 1. Under current legislation, there is no specific offense targeting the production of indecent photos of others, but if the publication of indecent photos or personal privacy is involved, regardless of whether AI was used in their production, the following ordinances apply. 1. Any person who publishes or threatens to publish intimate images without consent may violate Section 159 AAE of the Crimes Ordinance, with a maximum penalty of 5 years of imprisonment. For crimes committed using computers, the government will handle them under the offense of access to computer with dishonest intent under Section 161 of the Crimes Ordinance. 2. Publication or display of obscene or indecent articles in Hong Kong, regardless of whether AI was used in their production, is regulated under the Control of Obscene and Indecent Articles Ordinance. And 3. In safeguarding personal privacy, the Personal Data Privacy Ordinance, that is PDPO for short, also being technology neutral, regulates the collection and use of all personal data. Whether or not AI is used, the unlawful or unfair collection of personal data or the use of data for new purposes without consent may violate the data protection principles under the PDPO. Furthermore, if someone discloses information containing personal data without the data subject's consent, causing specified harm to the data subject or their family members, such conduct may constitute doxing, which is a criminal offense. Moreover, to review whether the laws under different policy areas can keep pace with technological developments including AI, the Department of Justice has commenced work on an interdepartmental working group and will coordinate with the relevant bureaus to consider whether potential or existing issues or situations should be addressed through legislation or other means. In the meantime, conduct such as the use of AI to produce pornographic, obscene, or indecent images may, depending on the circumstances, be regarded as cyber-enabled crime. It is understood that the Subcommittee on Cybercrime under the Law Reform Commission, or LRC for short, will, after studying, consult the public in due course. 2. The government actively provides concrete guidance and standards for the development and application of AI technology through the establishment of the relevant guidelines. For example, the Digital Policy Office has developed the Ethical Artificial Intelligence Framework and the Hong Kong Generative AI Technical and Application Guideline, which provide guidance on identifying and managing potential risks associated with AI projects. These guidelines stipulate that organizations and service users applying AI must comply with all applicable laws and legislation and regulations in Hong Kong, balancing the need for AI technology development with the need to ensure safety. On privacy, the PCPD has been strengthening various promotional and educational initiatives in recent years to enhance awareness of the public and organizations of safeguarding personal data privacy when using AI technologies. This includes organizing educational seminars and workshops, the annual flagship event Privacy Awareness Week 2025 in June 2025 under the theme AI Security Matters for All, and launching an AI security hotline and a dedicated AI security thematic website to provide one-stop access to AI-related guidance materials, educational resources, international developments in AI regulation, and the latest updates and activities from the PCPD in promoting AI safety. These initiatives enable the public and organizations to conveniently access practical tips on AI. In addition, the police continues to work with stakeholders to raise public awareness of voyeurism-related conduct through publicity and education, while encouraging the public to come forward and report crimes. Thank you, President. Mr. Chong Ho-fung. Undersecretary. Thank you, President. The Education Bureau and the University Grants Committee maintain a zero-tolerance approach toward any violation of law or discipline committed by students. The government will continue to promote education and publicity to enhance public awareness of the legal responsibilities related to the use of AI. All along, The EDB and UGC have maintained close communication with universities, clearly reminding them to handle suspected violations of regulations and laws with utmost seriousness and to actively work with law enforcement agencies on relevant investigations. The UGC-funded universities have already set up mechanisms for handling student disciplinary matters. If a complaint is substantiated, universities will take appropriate action in accordance with these mechanisms. Mr. Chong Ho-fung. Thank you, President. Regarding part 1 of the main reply, the DOJ is said to have started interdepartmental working group. There will also be coordination with the relevant bureau, and I believe the ITIB is definitely involved. There is more and more news on AI around the world. Can you take the initiative to set a timetable? Without one, all promises won't be as effective and meaningful. If you put forward proposals 10 years later, the world has already changed. We need to attach importance to this matter. We need to expedite the progress. Undersecretary, thank you. As member mentioned, of course, we attach much importance to this matter. At the same time, we are mindful of the pace at which AI is developing all around the world. The scale differs as well. That's why we need to foster technological innovation and we need to strike a balance between it and regulation. We need to make sure it moves with the direction of public well-being. The internet is not a lawless world. According to existing legislation, for most laws and regulations applicable to the real world, they apply to the internet as well. Regarding AI or different situations resulting from AI, as I mentioned, the DOJ has already commenced work on an interdepartmental working group. This involves the ITIB as well as other policy bureaus, and I believe the DOJ will give you more information about the timeline soon. Next, Mr. Ng Kit. Dr. Ng, please clip your microphone onto your lapel. Thank you. My question is as follows. Regarding publicity and public education, we need to target a problem at source. Apart from committed crimes, prevention and publicity matter. I'd like to know what kind of strategies will the government adopt on the community level, on the education level. How are you going to educate the public, especially teenagers, on the lawful use of AI? I hope that the administration will have a clear goal and timetable in this regard. Mr. Ng, you can only ask one follow-up question. You have already asked your question. Undersecretary. Thank you, President. Thank you, Mr. Ng, for his question. The government attaches a lot of importance to the application and development of AI technology. Meanwhile, we ensure that the public is equipped with the relevant safety awareness and literacy while using AI technologies. That's why we have been promoting the ethical AI framework, AI literacy, and so on to protect the public. We need to ensure AI is used in a safe manner. The DPO has published the ethical AI framework. Last year, we published the Hong Kong Generative AI Technical and Application Guideline as well. These guidelines and framework provide users and developers with practical guidelines and remind them of the potential risks and points to note. In addition, public education is under the purview of the Education Bureau. They conduct a lot of publicity programs to help schools to promote the use of AI, IT, and the promotion of information literacy as well. The PCPD and the relevant bureaus and departments organize a lot of activities to promote AI and emphasizes its safety. The police also hosts press conferences to educate the public on the methods used by lawbreakers. We remind the public of the importance of security in this regard. We work hard to foster a society that is safe and more responsible. Mr. Agent Ho, Section 161 of the Crimes Ordinance covers AI-related misconduct such as deepfake. However, the legislative intent doesn't target digital sexual violence. The evidence threshold is quite high, considering the popularization of AI deepfake technologies. The threshold for producing indecent images has lowered. Almost anyone in society can produce such images. Regarding the creation of innocent images, how can the administration determine the mens rea as well as the dishonest intent? Thank you. Undersecretary. Undersecretary for Security. Thank you. Under the current legislation, we maintain technology neutral. First of all, we take into account the mens rea as well as the actus reus. When it comes to the collection of evidence on the internet, our technologies and practices are very mature. Member, please rest assured the Cybersecurity and Technology Crime Bureau is capable of handling such cases. Thank you. Mr. Jonathan Lam. Thank you, President. Many victims, due to shame, fear, and they worry about secondary harm, they are unwilling or they are afraid to come forward. Will a dedicated support platform be provided? Is it possible to allow victims to report anonymously? Can they be allowed to pursue responsibility or accountability with privacy being protected? Which public officer will reply to this supplementary question? Undersecretary for Security. The government attaches importance to the treatment of victims. For vulnerable witnesses, the police has a very well-established system. We have a specified section on protecting vulnerable witness. When it comes to the crimes wings, we have a dedicated group to handle cases in relation to sexual violence. We conduct studies as well as promotion. On the website of the police force, there is a dedicated website for the victims of sexual violence. They set out the treatment of sexual violence victims, including the special requirements when it comes to the handling of evidence. We also provide training for frontline officers, so members can rest assured that the police has resolved to clamp down on such offenses while at the same time protecting victims and witnesses. Thank you. Mr. Wu Yingpeng. Thank you, President. The PDPO currently covers offenses in relation to the publication of indecent images. If someone publishes a real indecent image or using AI to publish a forged or altered image, I believe there's a distinction. Right now, we have the offense of access to a computer with dishonest intent. Will the government consider amending legislation on regulating AI in order to combat such acts that use computer technologies and AI, or the publication of personal data? Which public officer will reply to this supplementary question? And the Secretary for ITI. Thank you. As I said, all laws and regulations applicable to the real world also apply to the internet as long as the lawbreaker violates the law. Then these laws will apply. I'd like to emphasize the fact that AI technology developments differ across different sectors. That's why it is difficult to invoke one single ordinance to cover all different issues and misconduct. Having said that, we do our level best to promote AI technologies and their safe use. That's why, as I mentioned in my main reply, the Department of Justice has started work on an interdepartmental working group. It is hoped in different policy bureaus, laws and regulations can keep pace with the times as well as technological developments. Therefore, the interdepartmental working group will work with the relevant bureaus to consider whether potential or existing issues or situations need to be addressed through legislation or other means. We'll stay ahead of the curve. We'll stay forward-looking in considering the technology development of AI so that this will move forward with the direction of the development of public well-being. Thank you. Mr. Nick Chen, thank you for the Undersecretary's main reply. It is said that the crimes ordinance will be invoked to cover acts of any person who publishes or threatens to publish intimate images without consent. However, AI deepfake images aren't really real images. I'm afraid that this offense won't apply. In accordance with Section 161 of the Crimes Ordinance, that is access to a computer with dishonest intent, there was a case in 2019. The CFA has already narrowed the scope of this offense, and the police may not be able to prosecute a particular defendant using Section 161. This is in relation to a case in 2019, that is Chen Ka-yi case. Also, just now we talked about the situation in which no victims will come forward to make a report. Then what about these cases? Say for other countries such as the UK, the US, there are other legislations which criminalize the generation of AI indecent images. I hope to provide these references for the administration to consider. Which public officer will reply regarding altered images with indecency? We have laws and regulations that cover these acts. For instance, if an image is altered, including alteration using AI, we can still prosecute the person who does so. Regarding obscene and indecent images, we don't take into account how that image is produced, regardless of what kind of technology is used. That is because for some laws, they are technology neutral. Regarding access to a computer with dishonest intent, indeed, there is a case precedent and we have already identified deficiencies. The Subcommittee on Cybercrime under the LRC has already published a report. It targets the use of computer systems to commit a crime. Part 2 of the report is pending publication. Afterwards, we'll conduct a study. Mr. Chu Lap Wai. Thank you, President. According to the reply of the administration, there is no existing legislation targeting AI issues. I'm glad to see that the administration is reviewing and conducting studies. If in the future, when there are cases involving students as victims, will you take the initiative to get in touch with students to provide emotional counseling as well as information on their rights and protection? Which public officer will reply? Undersecretary for Security. Regarding law enforcement actions, as long as we believe or we suspect someone breaks the law, we will initiate investigation. Regarding whether someone comes forward to make a report, that may be considered in another stage of the prosecution or judiciary procedures. It is not the case that we cannot initiate investigation when no one comes forward. If someone needs assistance, We understand very well that the trauma of the victims isn't limited to physical harm done to the victim. Thank you.
第三項質詢。
Question 3, Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Madam President. In the 2025 policy address, the Chief Executive emphasized technological reform and facilitating the application and development of technology, including artificial intelligence across various sectors. Regarding leveraging technology to enhance fire safety, will the government inform this Council? 1. Given that during the debate on motion on support and rebuilding work after the fire at Wangfuk Court in Taipo in this Council on the 14th of this month, the government indicated that it would expedite the promotion of an Internet of Things fire detection system to improve firefighting and rescue efficiency of the specific timetable for the relevant work. Whether the government will study the application of additional advanced technologies to enhance the fire safety standards of residential buildings and home environments. If so, of the details. If not, the reasons for that. And 2. Whether, apart from the smart site safety system implemented by the Development Bureau, the government will study the introduction of other innovative technologies at construction sites to enhance fire safety at those sites, including the use of technology to ensure that construction procedures and building materials used comply with relevant fire safety requirements and standards. If so, of the details. If not, the reasons for that. Secretary for Security. Madam President, the government attaches great importance to enhancing the fire safety standards and fire safety governance through the effective use of technology. We continue to introduce appropriate technological solutions in various aspects including fire service equipment, preventive monitoring, inspection and enforcement, firefighting and rescue, preventive monitoring and rescue, publicity and education, as well as personnel training, with a view to further protecting the lives and property of the public. Having consulted the Development Bureau, I give my reply to the question raised by the member as follows. First, the Fire Services Department continues to promote the application of suitable technologies to enhance home fire safety in the following 3 specific aspects. Firstly, the FSD introduced the pilot scheme on the Internet of Things fire detection system at the end of last year. These systems enhance the fire safety standards in old buildings. At present, these systems are installed in 10 old buildings of 6 stories or less across Hong Kong. This exempts those buildings from the installation of fire service equipment such as fire hose reels, fire water tanks, and fire and water pumps. The exemption further assists owners of the target buildings to comply with fire safety directions with greater convenience and safety. In contrast to traditional manual fire alarm systems, the IoT FDS offers real-time monitoring and rapid transmission of fire alarm signals, with wireless signals connecting the entire system. Upon detection of a fire, the system will instantly alert the Fire Services Communication Center through wireless signals for prompt dispatch of fire appliances to handle the incident at the early stage of a fire, even when no report has yet been made by the public. Moreover, the iOS FDS incorporates a system status monitoring function. If a detector malfunctions, the system will instantly transmit a signal to notify the FSD and the service provider to take follow-up actions. The IoT FDS also collects fire-related data to support the department's application of big data analytics in assessing relevant risk factors so as to formulate corresponding fire safety strategies, such as the scale of deployment during a fire. The FSD is conducting ongoing assessments of the effectiveness of the pilot scheme. The first phase of assessment is due for completion in the second quarter this year. Subject to satisfactory results, consideration will be given to extending the IoT FDS to all relevant buildings. Secondly, we promote the effective use of technology within the industry. For instance, the FSD encourages property management companies to adopt digitalized fire service equipment maintenance record management systems, encompassing functions such as electronic inspection records, expiry reminders, and efficiency follow-up procedures. These features help enhance overall fire safety. The FSD has also set up an online submission system to enable electronic submission of certificates of fire service installations and equipment, or FSIs, by registered fire service installation contractors. This system not only enhances operational efficiency but also provides important data for the FSD to monitor the operational and maintenance status of FSIs. Furthermore, it enables the use of artificial intelligence and big data for research, analysis, and risk assessment. This helps the FSD to formulate and implement risk-based fire prevention, inspection, and enforcement action strategies. Thirdly, we actively encourage members of the public to use standalone fire detectors and other portable firefighting equipment in domestic premises to enhance fire warning and self-rescue capabilities at the early stage of a fire with a view to improving fire safety at home. Standalone fire detectors can pick up smoke at the early stage of a fire before warning the occupants within the premises, and that gives them more time to evacuate. In recent years, the market has seen the rollout of smart standalone fire detectors with pairing functions. These detectors can be paired with home surveillance cameras and smartphone applications. When the detector emits a fire alarm signal, users will not only receive an instant alert, but can also view the live footage of their home via remote monitoring. This enables swift decisions and the most appropriate responses. For example, people can direct their family members to evacuate or report to the police for assistance so as to reduce disaster losses and risks in a timely manner. The FSD will continue to promote smart fire service equipment to the public through short videos on social media and community seminars. 2. The government has been closely working with different stakeholders to explore, deliberate, and formulate various site safety measures, including the adoption of technologies to uplift site safety. The Development Bureau and the Construction Industry Council are actively working with the construction industry to explore the application of suitable technologies, including different cameras and sensors, such as artificial intelligence-enabled cameras, thermal imaging cameras, and Internet of Things thermal sensors. The Development Bureau hopes to rely on AI algorithms and infrared thermal imaging technology to detect abnormal stacking of materials on construction sites and to continuously monitor high-temperature or high-risk areas, including dangerous goods stores and areas storing flammable materials, work involving flammable materials, and hot work such as welding, with necessary alerts to be issued immediately. The Development Bureau will also explore the use of different monitoring devices to record the inspection process in real time with a view to ensuring that fire safety requirements at workplaces are met. The Buildings Department issued a practice note last month on the sampling and testing requirements for the nets used on the scaffolds and external walls. The practice note requires that when sampling is conducted off-site, the contractor should adopt a reliable digital system such as quick response or QR codes, near-field communication, NFC devices, and radio frequency identification or RFID technologies to facilitate the checking and tracking of material batches. The scaffolding nets recently procured in bulk by the CIC for the industry are all embedded with RFID chips and QR codes with the digital tracking platforms capable of recording and tracing every stage from production to delivery of scaffolding nets. This sets a good example for the industry. The Development Bureau will draw on this experience and further review the application of the technologies to other construction materials subject to fire resistance requirements so as to optimize their storage and management. The President will continue to keep pace with the times and actively explore ways to optimize and enhance emergency response capabilities through the effective use of technologies across domains with a view to safeguarding public safety. Mr. Andrew LAM. I read the main reply. The IoT-based FDS can exempt the buildings from installing the fire hose reels, water tanks, and pumps, etc. I find this encouraging. For many residential blocks, they fall short of those fire safety requirements, not just because of the construction challenges. Cost is also another factor. Not every homeowner can afford those costs. So, for this IoT system, is this system more affordable than the conventional fire safety systems so that we can help more buildings to meet the fire safety requirements sooner? Secretary. Now, for older buildings built before 1987, they have to install the conventional hose reels and water tanks, as well as open valves to meet the fire safety requirements. That applies to the older buildings. those works take 1 or 2 years. Now that we have the pilot scheme on IoT FDS, things are more straightforward. We simply put the fire detectors on every floor, and we also have this fire alarm device along with a central monitoring system. All those features will send a signal to the FSD once a fire starts, and then we can send officers to put out the fire right away. The works under our new scheme will take only 2 to 3 weeks. In the past, the works would take 1 to 2 years, so that saves a lot of time. In terms of the money, the older systems would cost $600,000 on average. Now the works cost a third as much, roughly $200,000. The annual maintenance cost is the same as before, $20,000 to $30,000 per year. With the IoT system, we won't have to worry about the building structural issues because of the loading issues. Some buildings cannot install water tanks. The new system also offers 20 round-the-clock real-time monitoring. So once the test works out, we will apply this IoT system to all buildings. Professor James Lau. Thank you, President. The focus is on fire safety in buildings. More than 40% of Hong Kong falls within rural areas. There are hill fires, people go missing or they get hurt because of missteps. In 2023 to 24, hundreds of people got hurt every year, more than a dozen lost their lives. Can we apply these technologies to country parks to detect hill fires and pick up people getting hurt there? Can we use drones? Can we use infrared system? Can we have round-the-clock coverage with drones to keep an eye on things? We don't just wait till a fire has started before we act. When someone goes missing, can we have a system to keep an eye and alert us? Thank you. Secretary. This question is about country parks and people going missing. So that's a very different situation. Of course, it's important to put out the fire once a hill fire starts. Prevention also matters. Prevention will require not just publicity. That also involves trimming the trees, etc. We do apply technology. The FSD uses drones to inspect different places. Now, on high-risk days when people go tomb sweeping, we use the technology for inspection. Technology can also help us look out for embers where it's hard to send officers to have a look. Now, on missing persons, that has little to do with the question today, but I can also give a reply here. We also adopt technology. The Hong Kong Police Force has rolled out the HKSOS app. You install the app and you go hiking even when you're out of network coverage. We will have an easier time tracking you down. And we have identified missing persons with that app. A couple of years ago, a teenager stayed in a rural area for 3 days and we managed to pick him up. And that was because we used drones to rule out other options, and then we managed to find the person. Mr. Andrew LAM. I think we all agree on the need to use technology to enhance fire safety. We now have firefighting robots that can withstand high temperatures. Do we work with INT companies to explore technological solutions? Do we look out for suitable firefighting solutions on the market to enhance our capabilities? Do we have advanced equipment ready for deployment. Secretary. Now, we have been trying to adopt technologies for firefighting, especially after the Wangfu Court fire. I personally lead a working group on enhancing firefighting effectiveness. Very soon, we will launch a new breathing apparatus. That apparatus will come with a communication device. Now you still need a walkie-talkie, but in the future equipment will have a communication device built into the helmet. The new breathing apparatus will come with a new connection with the oxygen cylinder, and you can even share the oxygen with another officer. Now, for massive fire scenes, there are commanding dashboards with signs alerting officers to go in or reminding them of the expiry of oxygen. In the future, we will have electronic dashboards, and that will keep track of the usage of oxygen and help us deploy officers. We also make massive use of drones. The drones are used for recon purposes and tell us the temperature at the scene. We haven't used the drones to put out the fires yet. We have found out about this with our mainland rescue departments. Even the mainland does not use the technology yet because the technology has yet to mature. That's why we're still at the stage of pilot schemes. So we will start with pilots to see if the technology works out. Now, on robots that put out fires, those robots will come with higher heat resistance. And those robots will be able to navigate ramp with a greater gradient. So we will adopt such technologies to help us put out fires. On the use of artificial intelligence, we're working with the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. We gather data with IoT. We also get data from service providers. We then combine that data with the data from fire scenes, and then we use big data analytics to help us with deployment strategies and also firefighting strategies. Thank you. Ms. Jeannie Man. Please clip the microphone to your lapel. We all welcome new technologies. For owners of old buildings, however, they want to know how much the new systems will cost and whether government subsidies will be on stream. So will there be such subsidy schemes? Secretary. For old buildings, meaning those built before 1987, different schemes are in place to provide subsidies. The FSD offers a one-stop service platform. So building owners can get in touch and find out which schemes they are eligible for. Mr. Ken Wong. Thank you. We now have artificial intelligence and virtual reality. Will we make further use of technology for publicity and education? Hong Kong is unique in the living space. Can we offer training based on virtual reality and augmented reality so that people can familiarize themselves with the means of escape? Can we use AI for analysis to enhance our response capabilities? Secretary. I want to start with staff training. We are already using AR and VR in staff training. No two fire scenes are alike. We do have simulation exercises, and we do adopt technology to train our officers in different scenarios. We're also working on the preparations for public education. We will use mobile vans offering AR or VR to give people a sense of what a fire scene looks like. And we will remind people to pick up the essential items such as a wet towel, keys, etc. And that's for public education. Those are under plan. Dr. Johnny, I welcome the Secretary's reply, and also I'm glad to hear about the technology, the robots and new breathing apparatuses, etc. But how do we measure the success of these new gear? Secretary, on measuring the success, we compare and contrast the ease in operation after adopting the new technology. So we look at the before and after. We also look at the time taken. Will the new gear give us shorter response time? With the new oxygen cylinders, will that mean our officers can put out fires and stay inside for longer? So those are the parameters we'll be looking at. Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. I welcome the introduction of IoT FDS by the HKFSD, especially the adoption of such technology for old buildings. In the second quarter this year, we will complete the assessment for the first phase of this scheme. The technology is well established. As the Secretary said, this new system is also very cost effective. My question is, how do we expedite the application of such technology to the more than 3,600 target buildings that are 6 stories or less? Thank you. So we will need 6 months for the review. We're now 2 months into the trial scheme. And this scheme has been working well. The new system will save money and will take less time to build. Once the review or the trial scheme concludes, we will try to apply this iOS system to all those buildings built before 1987 and below 6 stories. We want to be even more ambitious. Even when the law does not require the installation of an IoT system in place of the conventional system, and even for buildings already installed with the fire hydrants or fire hose reels, we would like those buildings to have the new IoT-based systems, because in that case, when a fire starts, the FSD will be alerted right away, and we will be proactive on this effort, and we will be happy to support the work.
Question number 4, Ms. Carmen Kan. Thank you, President. It has been reported that queuing gangs have recently appeared outside the Hong Kong licensing office of the Transport Department. They lined up for queuing tickets to apply for the direct issue of a full Hong Kong driving license or directly issued license with the intent to profit. In this connection, will the government inform this council? 1. Given that the Transport Department has cancelled on-site ticketing from the 8th of this month and plans to introduce an online appointment booking system in March to address the issue of queuing gangs, of the measures the government has put in place to guard against cyber queuing gangs snatching online queue tickets and appointment quotas through improper means such as plug-in programs. 2. As it is learned that the number of directly issued licenses has increased more than threefold in the past 4 years, whether the government will consider conducting statistical and demand analysis on the relevant application and issuance data, such as compiling statistical breakdowns by visitor arrivals or persons admitted in Hong Kong under talent admission schemes, so as to enhance the measures in the light of the demand. And 3. As it has been reported that crimes of deception involving the use of false instruments to obtain directly issued licenses occur from time to time, undermining public confidence in road safety, how the government will strengthen cooperation with the issuing authorities in places where driving license qualifications are mutually recognized and improve the verification and approval mechanisms so as to guard against cyber fraud and protect the safety of road users. Secretary for Transport and Logistics. President, the Transport Department implements direct issue of Hong Kong full driving license or direct issue in accordance with the Road Traffic Driving Licenses Regulations or CAP 374B, which allows a person holding a driving license issued by one of the 32 places specified in the 4th schedule to the regulations to be directly issued with Hong Kong full driving license for driving private cars, light goods vehicles, motorcycles, and motor tricycles. Mutual recognition of driving qualifications and direct issue are common practices in many places. It has also been implemented in Hong Kong for many years to provide facilitation for citizens in different places by saving their resources and time of taking tests for obtaining local driving licenses. In consultation with the Transport Department and the Digital Policy Office, my reply to the various parts of the question raised by Ms. Carmen Kan is as follows. 1. The supporting documents for direct issue applications involve information issued by other places. To ensure that the applicants meet the legal requirements, they are required to present the original of documents, including driving licenses and travel documents, etc., for verifying the authenticity by staff of the Transport Department's licensing office. Since March 2021, the Transport Department has implemented online appointment for direct issue counter services. Applicants may make appointments in advance apart from queuing for same-day queue tickets. Now, in response to the abuse of the same-day queue ticket mechanism for a period recently, the Transport Department has, with the assistance of the Digital Policy Office, implemented the online same-day queue ticket arrangement from the 12th of January this year to better maintain order at the licensing office. Online ticketing arrangement was cancelled with immediate effect. The service has been integrated with measures on security and online traffic management, such as a human-machine verification mechanism and a virtual queue management solution. They can effectively detect and block automated programs from snapping up tickets while regulating traffic as appropriate, thereby ensuring smooth registration process. Specifically, should the number of applicants exceed the daily quota, applicants already in the system queue when the distribution begins will be subject to a random draw to enhance fairness. Applicants for online tickets must provide personal identity information, and successful ticket holders must present relevant document at the licensing office on the same day to process the applications, and they are prohibited from transferring the online ticket to others. The system has been operating smoothly since launch, and applicants' use of counter services has been in good order and efficiency. To prepare for the full implementation of online appointment for counter services, the Transport Department has been working at full steam over the past few months on system enhancement. The work is in its final phase, which involves measures to ensure system stability and reduce improper use of services. Such measures include enhancing the virtual queuing system, verifying applicants' identities with I'm Smart and AI, and using one-time passwords for authentication, etc. We strive to fully implement the online appointment booking services as soon as possible. The Transport Department and the Digital Policy Office will continue to monitor the system running and will optimize the protective settings, system capacity, and so on to ensure smooth and stable operation of the system, as well as fairness, thereby safeguarding the public's rights in using the services. 2. Over the past 5 years, the number of direct issue applications has increased more than twofold to about 84,500 per year. Among the applications received, about 90% were submitted by holders of mainland driving licenses, while some 10% by holders from other places, both on a rising trend. We aim at enhancing efficiency and expanding capacity while serving all applicants in a fair and stable manner. Apart from the above-mentioned measures to enhance the application procedure, the Transport Department would, in response to increasing demand for applications, adopt multi-pronged approach, which includes extending the counter services to all of the 4 licensing offices and increasing the appointment quotas by about 40% to 550 upon the full launch of the system. The new appointment system will, with the aid of AI, conduct preliminary vetting of information submitted. Appointments with inconsistent information will be cancelled and quotas will be released to enhance efficiency of the system. The Transport Department is also actively exploring the use of AI in direct issue procedures so that applicants will be able to upload documents to the new online platform for preliminary vetting and then visit the licensing office at their booked time slot with their original documents for verification to ensure smooth and efficient process. 3. The Transport Department has all along been rigorously processing and verifying each application. In case of doubts, the Transport Department will carefully follow up and verify, including approaching the relevant consulates and transport authorities in the issuing places for verification to ascertain the authenticity. We will also refuse to approve applications which do not meet the eligibility. Taking mainland driving licenses as an example, we've set up a regular mechanism with the vehicle administration officers in the mainland to conduct checks on doubtful driving licenses. We'll continue to exercise stringent gatekeeping and enhance the procedure to guard against fraud and have reference to the corruption prevention advice provided by the ICAC. Should there be doubtful suspected cases, they'll be referred to the law enforcement agencies for follow-up actions. Ms. Carmen Can. Now, southbound travel scheme has been implemented for a month. The Secretary on the 23rd mentioned that the Transport Department received applications from over 2,500 drivers. Now, for vehicles reaching the urban areas, over 10,000 vehicles have made appointments for under this travel scheme. That's 1/3 of the total. Secretary also mentioned that as Chinese New Year approaches, the number of applications received are abundant. Now, many Hong Kong people might opt for outbound travel during the long weekend. Will the government consider making a dynamic adjustment during mainland's holiday periods, such as rolling out special measures with special quotas to promote the southbound travel scheme so that more visitors will come to Hong Kong and boost local spending? Thank you for the question. Now, since implementation, the southbound travel scheme has been running quite smoothly. We have a daily quota of 100, and we closely monitor the application situation and the numbers received every day. Now, for special periods such as Chinese New Year holidays in the mainland, we have received more applications than usual. So things are looking good, but now we have 100 quotas per day. We're able to meet this demand. Indeed, on some special occasions, the quotas are used up, but on regular days, there is still a surplus to meet the demand from interested applicants. We will also closely monitor the situation and taking a multi-pronged approach. We will consider, for example, whether demand is met and whether our traffic diversion measures are efficient, as well as our capacity at the BCPs. And then after conducting a comprehensive review, we will consider introducing adjustments to the quota management as well as the situation relating to other places. Please focus on the crux of the question, which is about the direct issue of Hong Kong full driving license. Mr. Chong Ho-fung, thank you, President. According to media reports, some mainland applicants have told us that because of the long journeys from the mainland, by the time they reach the licensing offices in Hong Kong, they have missed the booked time slot. Other ways to provide facilitation for mainland applicants so that they don't need to queue up for the ticket again. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Zhang, for the Mr. Albert Zhang for the question. In fact, we've rolled out this new system, and through this system, we provide a ticket on the same day for the applicant, and we've also learned from experience and gauged the feedback from applicants. In fact, the majority of them have given us positive feedback. They think the system is convenient, and soon after they've arrived at our licensing office, their applications are processed quite expeditiously. We'll continue to review the system for further optimization. Now, it is hoped that when we launch the online booking or online queue ticket mechanism in March, we'll be able to take a two-pronged approach. We will allow applicants to choose the appointment time as well. And by this time, this same online same-day queue ticket arrangement will be cancelled because the online appointment system will provide a clearer and more convenient way for applicants to make applications in a one-stop manner. Mr. Eric Yim. In fact, the government has gone digital when it comes to processing the applications and renewal applications under the Top Talent Pass scheme. there is no need to provide any supporting document. Will the government consider doing the same for the direct issue mechanism? Can we go digital in full so as to lower manpower costs and enhance efficiency so that more resources can be deployed to combating online fraud and the use of false instruments to ensure fairness? Secretary. Thank you, President, and thank you, Mr. Yim, for the question. Now, we're talking about the processing of both driving licenses and vehicle licenses by the Transport Department. And in fact, most of the processes are already digitalized. And we also use AI and other new technologies in verifying the identities of applicants. Now, Mr. Yim refers to the different demands from applicants on license applications. They are required to submit supporting documents, and our goal is to go fully digital. With the use of AI and other technologies, we strive to verify the authenticity of the information digitally, and that we can focus our resources and on handling more complex cases or suspected cases. They can be verified manually. Thank you, President. Mr. Alan Chan. Now, the problem of queuing gangs is really prevalent. It also involves driving schools because if one driving school uses the queuing gangs, so to speak, then there will be other queuing gangs working for other driving schools. And ultimately, this is a problem. And according to the driving instructors, it's very difficult to queue up and apply for a license. They hope that the government will deploy resources and leverage on technology to tackle this issue. So my question for the Secretary is whether the government is monitoring the advertisements posted by driving schools. Is there any claim from these advertisements that the schools can queue up on behalf of the applicants? And the second question is this. Well, you've already asked a question. Let the Secretary answer first. Thank you for the question. Mr. Chan asked about learning drivers and also driving instructors and the application made by driving schools for driving exams. Now, today's focus is on direct issue of Hong Kong full driving license. But let me also respond to this point. In fact, when we formally launch the online booking system, we will put in place mechanisms to control the traffic and the queue so that when at the portal, these technologies will be deployed to cope with the influx of applicants in the virtual queue. Then there will also be technologies to prevent the use of plug-in programs by queuing gangs. As for the same-day queue ticket mechanism implemented recently, we only allow one ticket to be obtained by each applicant, and this way we can eliminate the problem of agents abusing the system as they get multiple tickets for multiple applicants. Mr. LEUNG LAM. Thank you, President. The reply of the Secretary suggests the use of AI in expediting the vetting process. I think this will be a facilitation for applicants of the direct issue of Hong Kong full driving license. Now, is there a timetable for the use of AI by the government? Thank you, President. Thank you, Member, for the question. We are already using AI as long as the technology is mature and appropriate for the process. We use AI for preliminary vetting, for example. When it comes to the overall online appointment system, as I set out in my main reply, we are working tirelessly for the early launch of the online appointment system in full, and by then we'll also suitably deploy AI in checking documents, and that when the AI screens out suspected cases, we can also manually vet these applications. That is, if these applications are not accepted by the AI's preliminary vetting process. Mr. Ronald Chan. As 90% of the applicants of direct issue are mainland drivers, as mentioned in the Secretary's main reply, the government has set up a regular mechanism with the vehicle administration officers in the mainland to conduct checks on suspicious driving licenses. And still, there will be a delay. It's not real time. Secretary just now mentioned digitalizing the whole process. Now, my question for the Secretary is whether you set up a simple mechanism, just a red or green flag in a digital system, and that if there is a suspicion, you will immediately put up a red flag to notify the vehicle administration office in the mainland so as to reject this application there and then. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chan, for the question. Indeed, the number has increased multiple folds. The number of applications we received reached 80,000, comparing to just 20,000 odd cases a few years ago. That's a 4-time increase. So the demand is going up, and therefore we have set up a very good liaison mechanism with the vehicle administration officers in the mainland. Now, under this mutual recognition mechanism and the other liaison mechanism we set up, we can make use of technology, and that will strive to shorten the time frame for vetting applications. Indeed, like Mr. Chan said, with the support of technologies, we may consider introducing a real-time arrangement for the vetting of applications. For simpler, straightforward cases, we might be able to achieve that. For more complex cases, however, we may still need to have multiple correspondences in the vetting process. Mr. Lam Wai-kong. Thank you, President. Now, about the direct issue of Hong Kong full-time license, be it the queue ticket mechanism at the office or online queue ticket mechanism, in the end, applicants will still need to visit the licensing office and go through the procedures at the counter. Will the Secretary consider setting up a one-stop platform so as to process applications without the physical presence of applicants? Thank you. According to our booking system, now the applicants are required to visit the licensing office in person for the verification of supporting documents, and we have streamlined the procedures such that they're only required to come once. And we also strive to further shorten the time frame in general. In the future, we'd like to go fully digital. Together with the online booking system, when it's launched, we can also make use of AI and go digital, and that we can further optimize the system so that we may not require applicants to visit the office in person for the verification of documents. We'll strive to achieve this goal. Ms. Ginny Man. There is another way under the direct issue of Hong Kong full driving license. There is a way for documents to be sent by email to the Transport Department for preliminary vetting. But now the form has been revised and there is no further instruction on whether this can be used. May I know why the Transport Department has decided not to allow documents to be submitted this way? Well, this refers to some specific operational details, so do allow me to go back and check if there is a need to optimize the procedures. I'm sure that the Transport Department will further update the operational guidelines. I will go back and ask the Transport Department to follow up on this matter.
Question 5, Mr. Man-kwong. Thank you, President. The Enhanced Supplementary Labor Scheme ESLS seeks to enhance the mechanism for labor importation and on the premise of ensuring employment priority for local workers, alleviate the manpower shortage across different sectors. However, it is learned that various sectors of society are concerned about ESL's impact on the employment of local workers, especially those in industries with relatively high unemployment rates. In this connection, will the government inform this council, one, of the total numbers of labor importation applications received and approved by the government since the implementation of the scheme, with a breakdown of numbers by industry, and post, 2, of the mechanism put in place by the government for continuously monitoring ESL's impact on the local employment market, whether it has reviewed the effectiveness of the monitoring mechanism in a timely fashion, and 3, given the relatively high unemployment rates in certain industries at present, whether the government will consider suspending labor importation for these industries or establishing a mechanism whereby the Labor Department may suspend the processing of labor importation applications involving these industries when the unemployment rates of the industries concerned reach a specified levels, so as to safeguard local employment priority, if not of the reasons for that. Secretary for Labor and Welfare. President, to cope with the challenges brought by manpower shortage and foster Hong Kong's economic development, and on the premise of ensuring employment priority for local workers, the government suitably allows employers with genuine difficulty in recruiting suitable local workers to apply for importation of workers. Apart from launching sector-specific labor importation schemes, the Labor Department has implemented the Enhanced Supplementary Labor Scheme ESLS since 4th of September 2023 to allow employers with genuine needs to apply for importation of workers for posts that were generally excluded under the previous Supplementary Labor Scheme. The reply to the member's question is as follows. 1. Since its implementation as at December 2025, the ESLS received a total of over 22,500 applications seeking to import over 171,000 imported workers. In the order of number of workers applied for, the 5 industries with the highest numbers were the F&B services, retail, security services, cleaning services, and cargo forwarding. During the same period, over 14,900 applications were approved, involving over 96,100 imported workers. Classified by job titles, the highest numbers of imported workers approved were waiter or waitress, junior cook, sales assistant, and cleaner. Detailed breakdowns of the numbers are at Annex 1 and Annex 2. 2 and 3. The government has been monitoring closely the employment market, including making reference to various statistical data and relevant statistical analyses on employment and income of local employees, maintaining close communication with the stakeholders, as well as making reference to the latest labor market situation to adjust the implementation arrangements of the ESLS in a flexible and targeted manner. On the premise of ensuring employment priority for local workers, importing labor at an appropriate scale can help local enterprises sustain their operations, transform and enhance service, and is conducive to the long-term development of the local economy and labor market. To strengthen the protection of employment priority for local workers, the Labor Department has implemented a series of measures since mid-2025, including displaying the names of applicant companies when publishing job vacancies for local recruitment under the ESLS on the Interactive Employment Service website to increase transparency, and launching additional measures to strengthen the monitoring of employers' local recruitment arrangements, conducting a special inspection campaign to check whether establishments employing imported workers have continuously met the manning ratio requirement, and requiring employers to report information on full-time local employees and imported workers, as well as the relevant manning ratios based on a risk-based approach. Other applications submitted by the same employer within 6 months after the employer submitted an application under the ESLS are not processed generally, and launching an online complaint form to enable local employees and imported workers to lodge complaints against employers. Having regard to the job posts with more imported workers and the employment market situation, the ESLS introduced new requirements on local recruitment on 10th of September last year, requiring employers applying to import waiters or waitresses and junior cooks to join a job fair held at a job center specified by the Labor Department once a week, and conduct job interviews on the spot. In addition, since 18th of September 2025, the local recruitment period for applying to import waiters or waitresses and junior cooks has been extended from 4 weeks to 6 weeks, and a tightened manning ratio requirement of 2 to 1 has been implemented for the aforementioned 2 posts by changing the calculation basis from all posts of an applicant employer to each post under application, requiring employers to applying to import a waiter or waitress and a junior cook to have already employed 2 local full-time waiters or waitresses and 2 local full-time junior cooks. The new requirement of attendance at job fairs enhances the transparency of the job application process and enables local job seekers to apply for jobs at job fairs instantly. The post-based manning ratio requirement also effectively drives employers to employ local workers to take up relevant posts. Since the implementation of the new requirements, the number of applications for labor importation from the F&B industry has dropped markedly in recent months, and the approval rate and the number of imported waiters or waitresses and junior cooks approved have also declined. The Labor Department is reviewing the ESLS, including its coverage, operation, and implementation arrangements, measures to promote and ensure employment parity for local workers. To tie in with the ESLS review, which is to be completed in the first half of 2026, the Labor and Welfare Bureau has commenced the midterm update of the manpower projection and accorded priority to data analysis for industries with a higher proportion of imported labor in order to provide relevant analytical results earlier for reference in the ESLS review and support the government's medium to long-term planning. The government will continue to closely monitor and respond to developments in the employment market and will implement the arrangements for labor importation in a dynamic and targeted manner to strike an appropriate balance between ensuring employment priority for local workers and maintaining an adequate manpower supply. Mr. Man-kwong, for the industries with higher unemployment rates, there are many low-skilled positions that are suitable for part-timers. We had before many females and elderly persons participate in such jobs on a part-time basis, such as to become waiters or waitresses, chefs, and they can also help make a livelihood for their families, and that also unleashes employment potential. But with the ESLS, I have received feedback from the public that there are less such part-time opportunities available. It really compresses their employment potential. Will the Secretary consider having specific encouragement measures to upskill these groups or provide some incentives to employers so that employers won't rely on imported workers as much? Secretary. Thank you, President. Thank you, Mr. LEUNG, for your supplementary question. The government takes the stance of according priority to local workers. We do provide retraining for local workers for some employment-related courses. Subsidies are available, and we also have different measures to encourage employers to hire local workers. And we actually have this re-employment pilot scheme that is quite successful. And we actually have the 2 trade unions participating, and many of the participants are women. 60% of them are women. So we see the results as pretty good, and we hope that local workers will be prioritized and they can find their jobs. Thank you. Mr. Zhang Pui-kong. Thank you, President. The Secretary said earlier, for the ESLS, the highest industries by numbers would be the F&B industry, retail, the other industries. Right now, the unemployment rate for certain industries are quite high at about 3.8. I want to ask, will you set a threshold with reference to unemployment rates for these industries, and that we will monitor the situation when the industries unemployment rate threshold is reached, the Labor Department will suspend applications for imported workers. And when we reach a level lower than the threshold, there can be resumption of processing of applications. This is a great demand of the public, and this is actually one of my platform to ask for suspension of the importation of workers. Thank you. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chung, for paying close attention to the situation. We monitor different data, including unemployment rates in industries, as well as the general unemployment rate and employers' circumstances. We do want to take a dynamic approach and make appropriate adjustments if necessary. I think we should take an objective perspective. We do see a general increase in unemployment rate from 2 years ago, but then we do have a mismatch situation where some employers can't hire for certain positions. Starting from September, we have a requirement for employers to participate in job fairs for waiters or waitresses and junior cooks. And people can obtain jobs instantly. I can provide some figures. In recent months, we have 157 organizations participating and 2,100 jobs were made available. Most of them are waiter and waitress jobs as well as junior cook jobs. There are also other jobs. So how many actually went to the job fairs? Only 400 of the job seekers went. So we had 102 job seekers actually got the jobs. But even after offers were made, only 6 of them actually went and started working. Some of them didn't take the offers because the jobs were on a shift basis, the jobs are far from where they live, or the jobs simply do not meet their expectations. I'm giving this example because we do want to accord priority to local workers, but then we do see a mismatch situation. So we need to strike a balance. And without options, we need to allow employers to import workers. Thank you. Mr. Chao Siu-chung, the Secretary said after September last year when we had the new requirements, we have seen a decline in approved applications. But then I also saw the reply to my question on 22nd of October last year, and I compared the figures. I can see that from October to December last year, we have imported 2,000 odd waiters or waitresses and 1,900 odd junior cooks. And in general, 742 and 666 applications were approved. We can compare the figures to the government's reply to Mr. Tam Chung-kok last week. And in June to August, on average, 610 waiters and 560 junior cooks were imported per month. It seems that there is a significant increase. So rather than a decline, the figures have increased. So I want to ask why there is such discrepancy, Secretary. President, thank you, Mr. Chow, for your question. We observe that starting from September, with a change in manning ratio requirement, where we change the calculation basis from all posts of an applicant employer to each post under application, whether in the number of applications or the number of approved applications, they have declined. Mr. Chow mentioned a discrepancy because we need to consider all 11 categories. So there is an increase. This is just a math problem. And as at December last year, when you look at how many are actually working in Hong Kong, and this is what we have to look at for import workers. There are approximately 45,000 odd people. 30% of them are in these two jobs, that is waiters or waitresses and junior cooks. So it does account for quite a high proportion. So out of the 45,000 imported workers, those who are working in Hong Kong, 30% of them work in these two jobs, which is exactly why for these two jobs we have the new requirements, targeted requirements. And if an employer has to import waiters or waitresses and junior cooks, there is this tightened manning ratio requirement. So if they have to import an additional worker, they will need to hire 2 more local workers to meet the requirement. We will keep in view of any changes in circumstances to accord priority to local workers in employment. Thank you. Mr. Lam Chen Sing. We have in general 26 jobs that do not allow for importation of workers, but this is said 30 years ago. We have some of these positions indeed not as popular these days, but then we have, say, bartenders, cooks. We have imported many of them. Will the government consider including other jobs in this list so that the government can have a comprehensive review and have different requirements for each job category, so that for some we will set tighten manning ratio requirement, some we can have a cap, some we can stop importation altogether? Thank you. Secretary. Mr. Lam, thank you for your question. In Q2, we will complete the review of the ESLS, and we will then have an overall review for the commercial sector as well as the labor sector, how we can reach a balance and how we're going to move forward. We do want to have a targeted approach. For the number of applications, the number of approved applications, and the number of imported workers actually working in Hong Kong, most of them are in the F&B industry. It accounts for half of those imported. And as I said earlier, the 2 most popular jobs are waiters and waitresses as well as junior cooks. So we do focus on these 2 job categories when we come up with requirements. But as I said earlier, there's also a mismatch situation, so we really have to strike a balance. We will consider the different factors in our review. Thank you. Ms. Jovi Chen. Thank you, President. The third part of the question asked about whether there will be a mechanism to suspend the processing of labor importation applications. I understand the government's stance is that there is no such plan. There's also no plan to set caps for industries. We shouldn't exclude these options after the dynamic review. I think we should set a threshold for certain industries with reference to unemployment rate at about 3.7%, because this is the average unemployment rate over the past 60 months. We should also have some support measures, say retraining resources. The Secretary did mention this, but can we have sector-specific resources so as to resolve the mismatch problem that the Secretary mentioned? Thank you. Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Jovi Chan, for your supplementary question. What she said is in line with the government's stance, actually. The construction sector is mainly managed by the Development Bureau, and the Construction Industry Council does provide training to construction workers to help them upskill, and often such training is subsidized. other than sector-specific training, we also have the Employees Retraining Board providing employment-linked training to help workers change careers, and we can also help them upskill. And if they're studying employment-linked courses, subsidies will be provided. We do try to provide as much support as possible to workers so that they can find jobs. Thank you. Excuse me, please stand up. Please stand up. Excuse me. Please stand up. Under the ESLS, we can see in the new requirements we have an extension of the local recruitment period, and there is a tightened manning ratio requirement. But we have observed that the approval process takes quite long. With 2 new requirements, can we expedite approval efficiency? And I think you should announce the timeline because it has something to do with the industry's manpower deployment arrangements as well. Please clip your microphone to your lapels. Thank you. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan LEUNG, for your supplementary question. We, in general, take 3 months to process applications given all needed information is received. But then for the 2 jobs, it would take longer because the recruitment period has been extended from 4 weeks to 6 weeks, lengthening the process. But we have already considered this in our design.
陳勇
Last question seeking an oral reply. Mr. Brave Chen. Thank you, President. Regarding the planning and development of the Hong Kong Park of the Hetao Shenzhen-Hong Kong Science and Technology Innovation Cooperation Zone, or the Hong Kong Park, will the government inform this council? 1. Of the sectoral distribution as well as the current and the target's future proportions of the local, overseas and mainland enterprises that have settled in the Hong Kong Park at present. The investment attraction targets and specific measures formulated by the Hong Kong Park for attracting leading enterprises in pillar industries such as life and health technology and artificial intelligence in the coming 6 months. 2. Of the specific progress in constructing supporting infrastructure facilities such as transport, commercial and medical facilities within the Hong Kong Park at present. Whether such facilities can meet the needs of the enterprises and talents that have settled there. If not, how the authorities will optimize the facilities to enhance the park's attractiveness to enterprises and talents. And 3. Of the specific construction schedule for the Western Cross River Link Bridge project connecting the Hong Kong Park and the Shenzhen Park. Given that the government has indicated that contactless clearance, that is a clearance process that directly uses facial recognition technology to verify users' identities without requiring the presentation of identification documents, will be implemented at the bridge to facilitate the flow of people between the 2 places, of the progress of the development of the relevant facilities, and the expected dates for commencement of operation. Thank you. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry. President, the Hetao Shenzhen-Hong Kong Science and Technology Innovation Cooperation Zone is located on both sides of the Shenzhen River and is one of the 4 major cooperation platforms of the Greater Bay Area under the National 14th Five-Year Plan. It is a major national-level cooperation zone that uniquely spans across 2 distinct social, economic, and judicial systems, with a dedicated focus on science and technology innovation. The Hong Kong SAR government has been closely working with the Shenzhen municipal government to develop the cooperation zone with a view to realizing the shared vision of 1 river, 2 banks, and 1 zone, 2 parks under the 1 country, 2 systems principle, thereby leveraging the advantages of strong collaboration between Hong Kong and Shenzhen. In November 2024, the Hong Kong SAR government promulgated the development plan, the development outline for the Hong Kong Park of the Hetao Shenzhen Cooperation Zone, which set out the key development directions and strategies for the Hong Kong Park. The development outline proposed a 2-phase patch-by-patch development approach for the park to develop. The construction of 2 vet laboratory buildings and 1 talent accommodation building under the Batch 1 development of Phase 1 has been completed. The Hong Kong Park of the Cooperation Zone was officially opened in December 2025. The remaining 5 buildings of the first batch will be completed progressively starting from 2027. To expedite the construction of the park, the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park Limited, or SITPL, has invited the private sector to express interest towards the remaining land parcels under Phase 1 development. The government will consider releasing the land parcels through tendering or public-private partnership models in an orderly manner starting this year, so as to leverage market forces to develop the park in an accelerated manner. Having consulted the Development Bureau, the Security Bureau, and the Transport and Logistics Bureau, a reply in response to the questions raised by Mr. Brave Chen is as follows. Part 1 of the question. As of the end of December 2025, over 60 technology enterprises and institutions have signed leases for space in the 2 wet laboratory buildings and have begun moving in, occupying nearly 80% of the total floor area of these 2 buildings. Approximately 60% of these enterprises are from the mainland, 15% from overseas, and the remaining, roughly 25%, are local enterprises. In terms of industry distribution, about half are engaged in artificial intelligence and data science, close to 40% in life and health sciences, and the remaining in other frontier technology fields such as microelectronics, new energy, and robotics. The enterprises that have established presence in the park are primarily attracted by its regional advantages. Hong Kong's unique strength in connecting overseas and mainland markets not only assists mainland companies in going global, but also facilitates overseas enterprises in using Hong Kong as a springboard to enter the Bay Area and the mainland market. The HSITPL will continue to participate in and organize roadshows, exhibitions, and major conferences in key innovation and technology cities, both domestically and internationally, to promote the park and attract more high-quality enterprises and institutions to move in. Furthermore, enabling the cross-boundary flow of innovation elements between the 2 parks is key to realizing the Cooperation Zone's development vision of 1 river, 2 banks, and 1 zone, 2 parks. These elements include personnel, materials, for example biosamples, capital, and data. To this end, the government has been actively engaging with relevant mainland authorities to explore innovative policy measures under a controlled manner in compliance with relevant national laws and regulations. 2. The design of the park follows the people-oriented principle, with the aim to creating a comfortable and high-quality living environment for enterprises, talents, and their families. The first talent accommodation building welcomed its first batch of residents in December 2025. Food and beverage and living amenities, including Chinese, Western, and Korean restaurants, fast food outlets, snack shop, convenience store, ATM, smart parcel, lockers, etc., have gradually commenced operation. We will also reserve space within the remaining plots of Phase 1 for retail, dining, and short-term accommodation purposes, thereby enhancing the overall living and working experience at the park. On transportation, to support the park's transition into its operational phase, the park company has arranged shuttle bus services connecting to or passing through Lok Ma Chau Station, Yuen Long Station, and Sheung Shui Station. The park also provides car and bicycle parking spaces. The Transport Department will plan for appropriate public transport services, such as franchised bus services, subject to the demand. In the longer term, the Northern Link Spur Line under planning will pass through the park with a railway station thereat. 3. The Western Cross River Link Bridge project, which connects the 2 parks in Hong Kong and Shenzhen, has commenced operation in December 2025. This project will open up the transportation network of the Cooperation Zone, facilitating the cross-boundary flow of personnel and showcasing the advantages of the Shenzhen-Hong Kong boundary facilities and innovative management policies. The design concept is to integrate the cross-boundary bridge with the surrounding ecological environment, with an emphasis on low-carbon technology, safety, and convenience, and a pleasant scenery. We will adopt a single span across the river construction approach. We will strive for the early completion of the relevant construction works in mid-2027. Regarding customs and immigration arrangements, to facilitate cross-boundary movement of innovation and technology personnel, the 2 governments will actively explore innovative customs clearance modes. The target is to enable pre-verified individuals to enjoy a contactless clearance experience through the use of facial recognition technology. Thank you, President. Mr. Brave Chen. Thank you, President. The reply has been very comprehensive, but I would like to follow up on the remaining portion of the Hong Kong Park. The government said at least 200 billion will be needed to develop the area while harnessing private market power. So in terms of introducing private capital, what plans are there? And also, what will the government's injection ratio be? Under this innovative development model, how can we better attract investors to more proactively invest in the area, because we are trying to pick up speed? Secretary. Thank you, President, and thank you, Mr. Brave Chen. As mentioned by Mr. Chen, the overall development principle for the Hetao area is first, industry-led. Second, we will combine a highly efficient market with a capable government. So we will introduce private capital and market forces to participate in the development so as to pick up speed and quality. Now, in batch 1, phase 1, we have secured funding from the electrical to build the 8 buildings there, and we are making plans for the remaining 22 parcels in phase 1. Now, the park company has already selected 10 parcels to invite markets to express their interest. It has received 27 expressions of interest, which is very positive. So now we are analyzing the feedback from the markets concerning the financing model and also the design and construction approaches. And then we will release the parcels to the markets in an orderly manner. More importantly, we are giving the park company flexibility to manage the parcel in its own capacity or engage in joint ventures with other companies. Whether it is a two-envelope mechanism or through land grants, as long as the industry can bring in upstream and downstream synergy, we will be open to any model to involve the market. Mr. Kenneth Lau. President, I'm pleased to see that the Hetao Park has been commissioned last month. It welcomes the leading enterprises and research talents from the mainland and overseas to move into the park. It will expedite Hong Kong's transition into a high-tech hub and also integrates into the national blueprint. My question is, in the Hetao area, there will be a supercomputing center, but there will also be a supercomputing center in Tagulang. So how will the two data centers position themselves? Now, computing center requires a lot of electricity, but our electricity tariff is much higher than other places. So in the long run, how can we support the supply of electricity to these centers? Secretary. Thank you. Mr. Kenneth Lau's point is very important in relation to the developments in Hetao and also futuristic industries. Computing powers are very important. Whether it is AI, advanced manufacturing, and life and health technology, they need to be underpinned by computing powers. Now, according to our plan, there will be supercomputing centers and data centers in Hetao. A major advantage in Hetao is the possibility of cross-boundary flow of data and biosamples. For these, we need dedicated data centers and other ancillary facilities. As mentioned by Mr. Lau, in the future, at Sandy Ridge, we will have an even larger international data park where there will be abundant computing powers to support the development of INT industries in the Bay Area. That will be an important piece of infrastructure to support the development of our AI industry. So we will adopt a forward-looking approach in making plans. Mr. Chen Pok-chi. President, now the AFCD expects that with the technologies developed by the Hong Kong Park, we can have better technologies for the fishery sector and upgrade the industry. Now, concerning the involvement of the agricultural and fishery sector in the Hong Kong Park and matching the industry to the technologies developed in the park and also talents development, would there be policy support for the agricultural and fishery sector to support its transformation and upgrading? Secretary. Thank you, President, and thank you, Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen is highly concerned about the development of the agricultural and fisheries industry. So one of the major directions of our INT development is to promote the synergized development of industry and technology. On one hand, we will foster frontier strategic industries. On the other hand, we will use technology to support the upgrading and transformation of our conventional industries. Now in Hetao, as mentioned in the main reply, there will be different function zones. For example, for AI, life and health technology and data science, we will have a zone. And also there's another zone for new technology and advanced manufacturing. As long as the industries meet the positioning of the zone, and as long as the industries are leading enterprises with a leading role, we welcome both local, mainland, and overseas industries to set up in the park. Mr. Hong came in. Thank you, President. The ITIB has been doing very well to introduce enterprises into the Hong Kong Park, and life and health technology is an important area of development. Many life and health technology companies are concerned how they can commercialize their research products, especially in the context of Hong Kong. For that, we need the collaboration between the ITIB and the Health Bureau and the Hospital Authority. So how is the collaboration mechanism like between the three? And if there are any challenges, which department should the applicants approach? Secretary. Thank you. In terms of life and health technology, this is the major industry that we are trying to develop in the zone. Now, in both Phase 1 and Phase 2, life and health technology accounts for more than half of the entire area. That is 48% of the entire area. Now, for enterprises which have already moved in, 40% of them are life and health technology companies. In the Hong Kong Park, not just the ITIB, the chief executive has already set up a steering committee to manage the park. So there is a close collaborative mechanism with the hospital authority. We have set aside $2 billion to support Inno Hong Kong, to support enterprises on the Inno Hong Kong research cluster to move in. There will also be an Inno Life Health Tech Hub. And also we have the GBA International Clinical Trials Center in the Shenzhen Park. So with the one center and one hub, the park will be favorable for research efforts of life and health technology and also for commercialization. For example, we have the Raise Plus scheme, which will facilitate mainland enterprises to go global. On the other hand, overseas enterprises, through the hub and the center and also other supporting measures, they can enter the GBA market quickly. So if there are any issues encountered by the trade, we welcome any inquiries. All bureaus will do our best to help them. Professor Priscilla LEUNG. President, I'm pleased to see that there's great progress in the area of Hetao. Now, in paragraph 1 of the reply, the Hetao area is an innovative zone with two distinct social, economical, and judicial systems. Now, intellectual property is key. So when there are disputes, and if the disputes linger on without a decision from the court, it will greatly undermine the research progress. So will the Secretary consider our proposal, that is to establish a center for INT arbitration? Now, we are highly reputable in terms of arbitration. We have a very credible and efficient arbitration system. So this is a very important piece of software for this system. Secretary. Thank you, President, and thank you, Professor Leung. This is a very good suggestion. As mentioned by Professor Leung, besides INT and commercialization, very importantly, ancillary support services are important. That includes IP and IP services. There's also accounting, financing, and legal services. We will study this suggestion with the relevant departments and bureaus. As long as it can speed up the development of Hetao and utilize Hetao better, we will be open to any ideas. Thank you. Mr. Michael Ngai. Thank you, President. Now, the government stresses that we need to have convenience flow of innovative elements, including logistics of biosamples and data. At present, the Hong Kong Park has been commissioned for a month's time, and there's more and more cross-boundary research activities. So to promote the development of the One River, Two Banks and One Zone, Two Parks vision, in terms of facilitating convenience flow of innovative elements, what negotiations have begun between the two governments in terms of cross-boundary logistics of research appliances and biosamples? Will the government consider a streamlined approach of a single application with multiple applications? Before the implementation of these measures, Mr. Chan, you may only raise one supplementary question. Secretary. Thank you, President. I also thank the member for his question. Concerning the issue of biosamples, we have already obtained the support of central ministers concerning the free flow of biosamples. Now we are negotiating for the specific measures of logistics with the Shenzhen municipal government. Now for biosamples, we will adopt a green channel and whitelist mechanism, which includes a whitelist for biosamples without need of approval. And also there will be a whitelist for participating organizations and a joint approval mechanism. So in terms of the standard, the workflow for the companies on the list, and also the oversight measures, these are still under negotiation. Now, besides the list and the channel, we are also striving for a more streamlined approach of custom clearance and approval procedures. By using technology, we can streamline the approval process for storage, delivery, and collection of samples. This will ensure orderly implementation.
節結束。無立
End of questions. Motion.